I'm Phyllis from southernfrugal.com. Tonight we're going to make some chimichanga. Now, chimichanga is not really a dish from or Mexican cuisine, it's Tex-Mex. And the chimichangas probably started in Tucson, probably in the 1920s. And it's kind of like the Alfredo. Fettuccine Alfredo is not really Italian as much as it is American now, and so goes the chimichanga. It's more of a Tex-Mex food. Now, what I'm going to do is make it with a round steak, and it's not cube steak, so it's not been tenderized, so I'm going to have to put it in the pressure cooker, but first I'm going to brown it. Alright, I want to show you what it looks like. Now, this was a little over a pound of round steak, and it was frozen, and I cut it into little sections, really about 1/4 of an inch long, little strips. So I've got my skillet all heating up now. I want it on pretty high. So I'm going to go ahead and put some oil in, just a little bit, and this is just vegetable oil. Again, my skillet is really good and hot. And I'm going to start browning this. Now, I want it brown because I want a good flavor on this meat. Alright. Now I'm going to wash my hands and we'll be back. Alright, we are back, and our round steak has browned pretty good. So we're going to have to deglaze that skillet. Now I'm going to, let me show you this. There's the pressure cooker. So I'm going to end up putting this in the pressure cooker for about 20 minutes. And I'm doing that because round steak, of course, is always tough. Always. And I want it tender. It's also very lean, which is exactly why I'm using it. Alright, now I want to deglaze that skillet, and I'm going to be using a 1/2 cup of water in the pressure cooker, so I'm just going to put it in the skillet. And get some of that brown, really good stuff off the bottom of the skillet. It'll come right up when you put the water in. I actually think I'm going to need a little more water. About another 1/4 of a cup. Alright, now I'm ready to dump this into the pressure cooker, along with all those little brown bits. And I'm going to take my paper towel and wipe the water out of the skillet. And now I'm ready to fry out some green peppers, green bell peppers, and some onions and some garlic. So I'm going to put a little more oil in, not much, just a little bit. It's just vegetable oil. This is 1 large onion. So that's a good cup of onions. Previously frozen bell peppers, that's another cup. They're still frozen somewhat. So I'm going to saute those, and I'm going to go ahead and get my pressure cooker going. Over here on the other burner. I'm going to let that be at pressure for about 20 minutes. So, now, got this all going pretty good. Now, I want to give you a little history lesson, or, well, not history lesson, I wanted to tell you about our experience at having a chimichanga, a real chimichanga. We were in Texas several years ago. Well, actually, we were coming back from New Mexico, and we were in Texas on our way back. And we stayed at a motel close to Georgetown. In fact, it was right in Georgetown, as I recall, Georgetown, Texas. That's in Williamson County. And so we were pretty tired from the trip, but we decided we needed to go out somewhere and eat. So, as our little philosophy on where to eat in a town where you're not familiar is to just ride around to different restaurants and see how many cars are in the parking lot. So that's what we did. And we found this little restaurant, little Mexican restaurant that was in an old filling station. Let me turn the camera around while I'm talking and back off. There we go. So anyway, we were riding around and we found this little filling station. It was a Mexican restaurant, and the whole parking lot was jam-packed and people were lined up out the door. So we thought, yeah, this is where locals go. I think it was a Friday night too. So anyway, we decided that's where we would go. And so we stood in line probably a good, I'd say, half an hour. And we kept thinking, boy, this is really going to be good, and it was. But the funny thing was, it wasn't very large, and the building was. And I mean, it was an old filling station with a couple, it looked like would have been a couple of stalls there. And so we finally got in and got to a table, and we noticed the waitresses were running, literally running with the food. So finally, our waitress took our order, and then she ran back to where the kitchen was. And then there was this other waitress that ran back out with all these plates. I mean, you were just afraid they were going to fall, But anyway, as it turned out, we talked to the waitress a little bit, and she said their owner required that they work really fast because so many people are waiting to come in there. So anyway, we got chimichanga, and they were just out of this world delicious. They really were. But after we got through eating, there was no rush. There was a big rush almost to get us out because they immediately had our check ready and, cleaned the table off while we were still sitting there. And so we figured, well, we better get up and leave. And we did. But anyway, the food was just super good. But I wanted to talk to you about Georgetown. But first, let me tell you, I'm going to put the garlic in. Now, this is one whole garlic bulb. So that was probably about 8 little garlic cloves, and I sliced them. I just like them that way. You might not want to put that many in, but I'm going to put those in with the onions now. I need just a touch more oil. So anyway, it turns out this town called Georgetown, Texas, has about 180, I think they said, homes that are on the National Historic Record, I think they call it. They're Victorian homes, and they were gorgeous. And on our way back to the motel, we went down the street where all these houses are, and they were just gorgeous. Even the street lights were the old Victorian, with the bulbs and everything, the big round bulbs. It was just gorgeous. And of course it was all lit up, so we got a good look at the houses. But the next day before we left, we decided to ride down that street again, and they were just the most beautiful Victorian houses you have ever seen. Just gorgeous. All right, so now that's that little story. All right, so we have got our peppers, onions, and garlic all kind of cooked up a little bit. And we've got the round steak that's sliced into 1/4 inch little slices in the pressure cooker. And the pressure cooker has come up to pressure. I'll show you that. And what you want to do then is turn it to number 2. It's hot. Alright, I gotta have a towel to get this open. Alright, before I burn myself further, I'm gonna have to work on this a little bit. Alright, we'll be back. Okay, we are back, and the onions, peppers and garlic have completed cooking, and I finally got my my little steam indicator on right. I had it on wrong, and so my round steak little strips has got about another maybe 10 minutes to steam. So now what I want to do to this mixture here, I'm going to add 2 cans, that would be 15-ounce cans of black beans. Now these are unseasoned except for some salt. So I rinsed them off really well and drained them. So I'm going to dump those in and just mix those all around with the peppers and the onions and the garlic. Just let those sit there for a while. And the next thing I'm going to do, I've got 10-inch tortillas, and I'm going to put those in some aluminum foil and put them in a real, very warm oven, well, 200, 250 degrees, just so they'll be easier to work with. So I'll wrap them up in the tin foil. Alright, so when this meat gets through in the pressure cooker, we'll be back and assemble all this. Okay, we are back, and our little round steak strips are fully tenderized. So we're ready to season everything now. Now this is about a cup of loose cilantro leaves, and I'm just going to cut those up with my scissors. If I can keep them in the bowl here. Just rough cut them. That ought to be good enough. Alright, just going to dump those in. Cut up any big leaves again. Alright, next thing we're going to put in is going to be lime zest. Now this is some lime zest that I had in the freezer, and I freeze it in with a little bit of sugar. Now the sugar will just sweeten the pot here a little bit, but you'll get that authentic Tex-Mex taste with lime. So I'm just going to sprinkle that all in. And you could use, the zest of a fresh lime, and the lime juice would be fine. But I do think the lime zest has a lot more taste than the juice does. Alright, now we're ready for the spices. First thing I'm going to put in is some paprika, a good teaspoon or so of that. About a teaspoon and a half of some sea salt. Sprinkle that all around. And a couple of teaspoons of chili powder. And a good teaspoon of cumin. And a couple of squirts of Louisiana hot sauce. Alright, we are now ready to mix this. I'll use my little spatula here. Just mix that all in. And we're going to dump the meat in, the juice and all. Just mix that all around. Now, when we make the chimichangas, I'm going to add cheese, and that cheese I've got, I believe, is cheddar and Monterey Jack. I really can't remember. I'll have to get it out of the refrigerator. But this is the basic filling for the chimichangas. Now, there are many, many different recipes for chimichanga. Some of them use pintos, some of them use rice and pintos, some of them don't use any beans at all. And a lot of them use the chuck roast, and then they separate it with a fork and make it kind of stringy. And I'm not using that because chuck is really fat. It's just got a lot of fat in it, and not that it's not good, but I'm trying to be a little healthier with it. And so therefore we use the round steak. But you do have to tenderize it because it will be tough. But see, it's just fall apart tender now. Done so good. Okay, now we're ready to start assembling these, and I'm going to reposition the camera and get everything ready, and we'll be back. Okay, we are back and ready to start the assembly of the chimichanga. And I've already got I'm going to fry them in some coconut oil. So the tortillas have been in the oven on a real low temperature, and they're warm. That way they're a lot easier to work with. All right, so we're going to take a spoonful of the filling, a good heaping spoonful. And then we're going to take a couple of spoonfuls of the cheese. Now, by the way, this cheese is Colby and Monterey Jack, finely shredded. So I want a couple of heaping tablespoons of the cheese. All right, now all you do, let me turn it around so you can see a little better. Let's just roll it over. Turn it in. And again, this is much easier to do if they're just slightly warm. And then just take a toothpick and go in and seal that side, just like that. Okay, I've got a fly in here, so I'm going to have to go and see if I can't kill him. We'll be right back. Alright, we are back. I got the fly, and he is no more, hopefully. Alright, so there's what it looks like. Now, I make mine, rather than round, I make them a little square. They're just a little easier to fry that way. Alright, so let's do one more. Let you watch. And I'm hoping to be able to make 8 because I want to freeze 6 of them. Alright, so a couple of tablespoons of the cheese right on top. Turn it over. And then just go ahead and turn it in. Keep it coming in with your hands. And seal it up with a toothpick. And I just usually use just one toothpick. Seal it up. Okay, let's do one more. A couple of spoonfuls, heaping spoonfuls of the cheese. Just roll it up and turn it under. Turn the two flaps in, and then you kind of hold it with your fingers and roll it over. And then you just put a toothpick in to seal it together. There you go. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and finish these up, and then we'll start frying them. So we'll be back in a minute. Alright, I finished assembling the chimichanga. And this is how much I had left. And now I was able to get 10, which is really good. And what we're going to do is freeze those. We'll have 2 tonight, and then the rest of them I will freeze along with the sauce in these little Pyrex dishes. So literally this is going to make 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 servings. I mean, you know. So the grease is now pretty well hot, and I'm going to try doing 3 of them at one time. So I'm going to cook them first with the side down that has a toothpick on it. And I've got my heat on medium, and I'm frying these in coconut oil just because I love it, okay? And we've now found out that it's really healthy for you. So I'm going to fry 3 at one time with the little toothpick side down first. Alright, and after I'm through frying all of them, I'm going to put them on this to drain, and I'll put them in the oven and leave them in there about 20 minutes just to make sure they're totally cooked. And when all that happens, we'll be back. While the chimichanga are frying, I want to go ahead and make the sauce real quick. Now I'm using a 24-ounce jar of picante sauce, and this is the medium, so it's 24 ounces because I need a lot of sauce because I've got 10 chimichangas. And to that I'm going to add 1.5 cups of sour cream. So that would be about 3/4 of this container, the 16-ounce container. So I'm going to go ahead and add that in. It's actually frozen a little bit on top. And this is a sauce that I'm going to freeze the chimichanga in, and then what we have tonight, I'll put some sauce on the plate and you just place the chimichanga on top of the sauce. Now, when you freeze sauce that's got sour cream in it, it will kind of separate, but you need to worry because once you heat it up, it'll come back together. But it doesn't look real good to start with, and there's a little frozen piece on top there. Anyway, that'll melt in here by the time the chimichangas and the salad are ready. Alright, once all this gets ready and I'm able to plate it up, we'll be back. Okay, I have completed frying all the chimichanga. I've got 10 of them, and I'm going to put these in the oven at 350 degrees for just about 20 minutes, and I'll be fixing the salad and getting the plates ready. Alright, we'll be back. Okay, the chimichangas are all ready, and we ended up with 10 meals out of this. Now these over here I'm going to freeze, so that's 4 meals for us right there. And here's our supper. Topped them with a little bit of the cheese. That's red rice and some cubed avocado, sour cream, and lettuce and tomato. And of course our iced tea. So there you have it. One chimichanga. This is just my version of chimichanga. Alright, I hope you'll try these and sort of make them your own. If you want to put pintos in them, you can do that. Use a different type of cheese, and the way I try to make mine healthier is by frying them in the coconut oil and then finishing them up in the oven. Now they'll be crispy. They're nice and crispy. Hear that? And real moist and cheesy on the inside with the beef and the black beans. Alright, we will see you next time. We're going to eat our supper.